hearts to bid farewell to one of our own, our beloved colleague, Mr. Michael Obeche.
Late Mr. Coach, I've not heard anybody speak ill of him. He was just this friendly, jovial, always happy, and the thought that is no more, it's I'm short of words, honestly. And when you were doing the introduction, you said Friday the 13th, and it reminds me of that phrase because in the Western world, there's a superstition that Friday the 13th could be an unfortunate day in history, so they have that superstition towards Friday the 13th, and incidentally, today is Friday the 13th.
It is. It is an unfortunate, I would say, because it is his loss is it will be hard to replace a person like Mr. Michael Obeche. The loss is huge. It was a big blow to us, but we have to say our goodbye to him and wish him well. May his soul rest in peace.
Amen.
This Friday morning, we have different segments for you. We'll be starting with Safety Corner. And Safety Corner this morning, we're going to be talking about something that we're experiencing right now. It's the Harmattan season, and during the day, at night, sometimes at night, it's quite hot. If you don't have steady power supply, you notice that at night it's quite hot. You have to get up from your bed and go take a shower. If not, you won't be able to sleep properly at night. I don't know if you've been experiencing it lately, but I've been experiencing it. The heat wave is something that we need to talk about this morning. So on Safety Corner, we have our safety experts come to talk to us about how to manage heat wave. We have safety experts from the Nigerian Red Cross Delta State Chapter that will be talking to us about how we can manage heat wave. It is quite apt because, like I said, this is a season where we experience heat wave during the day and at night. That is what we'll be talking about on Safety Corner. Thereafter, we'll bring you our newspaper review. We also have our interview segment. And lastly, we'll be bringing you the biggest trend on X with patience. So stay tuned. We are bringing on our first segment, and that is Safety Corner. How to manage heat wave. Please take a listen. In Nigeria, we've been experiencing severe heat wave in the country. So this morning we have members of the Red Cross with us to talk about the heat wave and self-management. With us this morning we have Trainer Charles Arinomo. He is the branch secretary, Nigerian Red Cross Society Delta State, the health and care officer, Nigerian Red Cross Society.
Having cases of depletion of the atmosphere, basically due to the release of greenhouse gases, and also the use of very old mechanical engines releasing chlorofluorocarbons, depleting the atmosphere. So when they get trapped under the atmosphere, it now goes on to the point where it heats up the environment, increasing the
depletion of the ozone layer. We have big trucks, vehicles that emit carbon monoxide into the air and making the air very hot. And these are some of the causes that makes the air to be trapped and then into the atmosphere. And then when it happens consecutively over a period of time, these are things that can actually lead to heat wave. So if we are able to manage, we are driving along the road one day, somebody said, "Oh, these vehicles are not supposed to be on the road again." If we have vehicle inspection department, then they should go out and get all these vehicles out of the road. If all this, and then more domestically, people use firewood to cook. We use all these things are emitted into the atmosphere, and they are causing some of the causes of heat wave. So if we can be able to manage all these things and then reduce some of these activities, deforestation and the rest, plant trees.
Exactly.
Plant trees. When you plant trees, you have green shade, because the trees you plant gives you good oxygen. You take in good oxygen place, we're able to reduce and manage heat wave.
So you're saying that, like, EVs, electric vehicles, are also a good way. So vehicles that don't emit carbon monoxide.
Exactly. can
Okay.
help the environment.
Then also on a very light note, on a very humorous note, we can decide to put air conditioning in the atmosphere. Before you know it,
Well, that's not
like, I know
not
I know a
realistic.
country who has a way of manipulating clouds, like I think Abu Dhabi, they
Oh,
manipulate
wow.
clouds and then
Because of the
cause
temperature.
rainfall.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that can also help to douse the temperature of that location.
Nice. So it can be managed.
Yeah, of course.
But
Okay.
self-management
We'll get there.
is
We'll
key.
get them. So now, how severe or how serious is heat wave, and what damages can heat wave cause to a person and to the environment?
Okay, I think this needs to be said, and thank you for asking that question, because a lot of people out there think that heat wave is not something people can just worry themselves about, unnecessarily, because it is said that we are very resilient people in
Yeah.
Africa. African man know they die, but newsflash, it can affect you.
Okay.
And let's say untreated cases of heat waves can lead to the damage to the brain, the
Wow.
nerves, the central nervous system, even the kidney. And when they get to that point where they become seriously unattended to, it can lead to death. So it is really that frightening.
Okay. Or what about the environment then?
Okay, for
What
the
damage can it
environment,
cause to the environment?
I'd like to hinge it to agriculture, for example. Now, for the farmers, you know that when we usually discourage farmers from practicing bush burning because it increases the temperature of the soil,
Okay.
destroying the microorganisms, especially the bacteria that fix nitrogen into the soil. And you know that nitrogen is needed in the soil for it to carry out its normal functioning and then helps plant to grow. So when the soil becomes heated extremely for a prolonged period of time, it also has that same effect as well.
Okay.
Okay, so you talked about bush burning. What's an alternative to bush burning?
Instead of bush burning, why not just clear them?
Then what
Clear them
happens?
and leave to dry?
Clear them and then leave it to dry, and then because if
We have Lassa fever everywhere now.
Yes.
When you burn bush, what happens? The rats, those
Rodents.
they tend to run into houses, and that food, the cost of price of food is very expensive now, and they go into your house. The small food you have in your kitchen, they go in there, do justice to it, and when you come back, somebody was telling us that he prepared after preparing banga soup, hot banga soup, and then you need to open the pot in such a way that some heat can go out. And then this rat actually wanted to have a taste of what you have on the spoon and fell inside the banga soup. And this guy never knew.
Full pot of
A
soup.
full pot of soup. And the guy never even knew. Warm the soup and
Don't tell me,
repeat it
yes,
continuously until he gets to the last lap and discovered that
How did he not know?
this long tail. The soup, the quality,
Oh, the taste.
So I think now I would ask the very obvious question: how then do we manage heat wave?
Self-management.
Yeah, self-management of heat wave. Well, as a result of increased temperature, if you live in an environment like this is obviously one way to manage heat wave. In a cool environment, one. Then secondly, you plan your activities in such a way that you don't go out during hot temperature. When the temperature exceeds 40 degrees Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit. So then you need to stay hydrated at all times.
Okay.
Staying hydrated at all times, it will help you, because when you are dehydrated, it's not good for the kidney, and this can also have some adverse effect and bring about some cardiovascular issues. And then you have to go sponge or have a cold bath when the weather is hot. You can do this. Get a napkin, towel, dip in water, either you place it on your neck, your armpit, and then get a shade. If you have trees around, stay under the shade. And apart from drinking water, you drink water even when you are not thirsty. Just get yourself hydrated, drink a lot of fluid, take fruits. It will help get your body hydrated. And then you should have a kit that contains water bottle and what do you call it? ORS,
Okay.
oral radiation
that?
salt, oral radiation salt, oral radiation solution.
Is what we call oral drip?
Yeah, well, not
some
necessarily
people do call it
oral drip.
Okay.
So
It's
how
called
it-
oral rehydration solution.
So how can you make that solution?
It's a basic
Mixture of-
mixture of salt, water, and sugar.
Sugar.
But the idea is the composition. So you'd want to have, like, let's say for 1 liter of water, you have 6 teaspoonfuls of sugar and 1 teaspoonful of salt. Now we have the tablespoon which the adults used to eat, and then the small teaspoon that babies used to eat. That's the one we're referring to them. Now, the idea is to have more sugar and salt, and I'm going to explain the reason why we have this composition, because some persons don't really know why. Now, for a person who is suffering from hypoglycemia, meaning reduced levels of glucose in the blood, what you basically need to do is just to give the person this ORS. And then when you give the person the ORS, it helps to revitalize the person, because when the person is suffering from dehydration, this becomes the issue. So when you give the person ORS, it helps to boost the person. Now, the idea behind giving sugar, salt, mixed with water is because when you give person only sugar, it helps to supply glucose to the body cells, helping the person to gain energy to become normal or maybe go about their normal activities. But when you add salt, it tends to help the sugar to diffuse quicker and faster into the body cells, now making the person to become strong over a very short period of time, as compared to when you just give only sugar. So that is the idea.
Okay, well, what are the risk factors, and who is more at risk of having, some of the effects of heat waves that you talked about?
Okay, I'll talk about the people who are more at risk first before I talk about the risk factors. So the people who are more at risk of having basically heat injuries like heat stroke are children whose immune systems are well underdeveloped, not developed enough to monitor the changes of hydration in the body, and then maybe prompt the body to require rehydration. And then pregnant women who have children that could be affected to the point where they can have stillbirth or weight loss.
Is it that serious?
Yes, it is that serious. And that's the reason why we're mentioning it here, so that our viewers who are listening and watching can take note of this. And then for the elderly whose central nervous systems have deteriorated to the point that they still cannot monitor the changes and know when to hydrate themselves as well. So those are the persons who are the most risk. Now, for the risk factors, we look at exposure to hot environments, like as we have here now. You cannot compare Nigeria, for example. Okay, let's say you cannot compare Jos Plateau and Sokoto. Sokoto is on record to be the hottest state in Nigeria, as compared to Jos Plateau State, where it's relatively cool. So, of course, you see that somebody who is exposed, who is at Sokoto, will have more propensity to suffer from heat stroke or heat injury. Then we also look at the age of the person. Those persons, let's say adults between the ages of 18 to 40, 50 have higher propensity to withstand heat stroke easily than for children, and then for adults who are 65 years and above. Then other risk factors you could also look at, excuse me, having people being exposed to high energy exercises that helps them, not helping them now, that exposes them to dissipating a lot. So when you engage in high energy exercises like running long distances and doing physical activities that makes you to exert a lot of energy, it makes you to dissipate a lot of heat, and then before you know, the body becomes heated up to that point where the person can be exposed to heat stroke.
Are you saying we should not do high intensity workouts?
Especially in times where you are exposed to heat waves.
So can I do, now you talk about taking enough water, so can I go for my high intensity workouts but take enough water? Or should I just stay away from high intensity workouts entirely?
This is where it gets technical, and I'm going to relate it to experiences we've had in the past with our olden days or forefathers. They usually engage in manual labors in the farms, and you realize that when they want to go to farm, they go early in the morning. And then they walk from that tile till around 9, 10. Once the sun comes out, they go and rest. So it tells you that they are aware of what is going on. So if you want to exercise, please try to do it early hours of the morning or late in the evening, but not in the afternoon when you know that the temperature will still be high.
Okay, so Trainer Arinomo, let's talk about signs and symptoms of health-related illnesses. So what are some of the signs that one can point out and be like, okay, I think this is related to the heat wave?
Okay, firstly, you feel hot, increased bodies, and then you feel fainting. You feel faint as if you want to faint, you want to fall. You feel dizzy. There's this nausea. You tend to vomit, you cough, you sneeze, because it comes with a lot of dust. The environment becomes dusty. So when you get these signs, and then some persons who have heart issues, they have this palpitation because it is weak, because the heart may not be able to push the required volume of blood that is supposed to, and then it will also be fast because the heart is also trying to meet up with the
Tended to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so when one discovers these signs and symptoms that, okay, this could be as a result of the heat wave, what is the immediate, or would I say, what should that person do first before maybe going to the hospital? Are there things that the person can do at home to actually help, manage someone is suffering from heat stroke? What should you do immediately to help?
Is the key. Do not have people locked up in confined places where there's no ventilation. Definitely you will suffer heat stroke. So expose the person to a lot of ventilation, and then ensure that they also do what we call tepid sponging. It requires you to use a clean piece of cloth, soak it in water. That water should be room temperature, not cold, not hot. Now use it to dab their body from head to toe. So do this repeatedly, and do not forget to call for help. Now it needs to be said that people who are in this situation has the propensity to fall into unconsciousness, which can be unconsciousness and breathing, or unconsciousness and not breathing. Now, when they're unconscious and still breathing, call for help, put them in a recovery position, and then monitor their situation as much as you can. Keep reassuring them. Make sure you keep that physical conversation with them.
Yes.
Just to keep them stable.
Okay.
Now, when they sink from unconsciousness and breathing to unconsciousness and not breathing, quickly start CPR. CPR means cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It is a way of manually compressing the chest to ensure that blood is sent to the brain, to keep the brain cells alive, pending when the brain will switch back on, because the brain, as we know, is automated. You do not control when it is on and when it is off.
Okay. Triage
and then more importantly, stay hydrated.
No, I mean, if the person is unconscious already, what should you do?
Like he said, if we have two forms of consciousness, either the person is unconscious breathing and unconscious not breathing. It is more life-threatening when it's unconscious and not breathing.
Okay.
So in that case, the heart is not performing its normal function by pushing out blood. So in that case, you have to help to restart the heart. If you have an AED, external chest compression, and then artificial respiration, if it's safe and convenient for you to give artificial respiration. So what do? You compress the heart 30 times, the chest 30 times. You place the heel of your one hand interlock with the other at the middle of the chest. That's the diaphragm, which where you have the sternum. You compress 30 times. You also give 2 rescue breaths if it is safe to do so. That is if the person is not breathing. If he's not breathing, you are doing this to buy time, to push blood to the brain, to keep the brain cells alive, and to also take over the function of the heart to push blood around the body. So when this is done, and you also call for help, you're able to revive the casualty, and then the person is taken to the hospital. So more importantly, when you discover all these signs, if you've taken all necessary precaution, you have been very, very much hydrated, you have stayed out from job, then employers also should also help. When the weather is hot, we know the fan is hot.
Exactly.
So what do? You can during the newspaper review, when Governor Sanwo-Olu asks people to work for 3 days.
3 days.
Even in Delta too, we also observe it. We work for 3 days. So you could share some of these job tasks and get and work from home, provided you get result. If I have a report, I need one of my colleagues to give to me. I say, okay, get this thing done. You can work from home as long as we get result. So don't expose yourself to hot. Even me, last week, some persons have to bathe 3 times. No Nigerians.
3 times is even
at night.
Not,
at night.
Yeah, at night. Yes, please. At night.
Nigerians, we are very good people. We know how to make good use of the situation. I saw something on Facebook. The guy was sleeping with fan facing him, and then a bucket of water at intervals. He wakes up and pours on himself. Some persons carrying generator and fan on the road walking.
Yes, and there was this particular post of a student taking fan to his classroom as well. Is that serious? Okay.
Let's talk about how parents can help children manage this, and also the best form of outfits to wear during this period.
Okay, for parents trying to help the children to stay away from the incidence of heat stroke as a result of heat wave, basically ensure that your children are putting on very loose clothing, because of course it's very hot now. So trying to help them to get breathable clothing, especially cotton clothing, are usually advised. Now, also ensure that you give them water packs to help them to stay hydrated. And then also, if they go to school, help advise parents and their
water, because I've heard of some doctors say you can actually take water